Hi, I'm Ludwig Ryan. Today I'd like to talk about Hollow Knight and how it frames spatial knowledge and advances the form of explorative play in the Metroidvania genre. Metroidvania games are categorized by their form of exploration, where levels are interconnected, loop back on each other, and new abilities require tracking back to previously explored areas. Hollow Knight includes all of this, but it places knowledge of the spatial environment behind extra barriers, which elevates the feeling of getting lost and requires a specific performative skill set of the player. First, we'll take a look at Hollow Knight within the practices of the Metroidvania genre, and show what it does differently. By layering uncertainty within certain systems and the introductions to each region, Hollow Knight asks players to justify their existence within an unfamiliar space so that they may earn the right to know their special position. After exploring this, we can then look at the form of explorative play that arises because of this, comparing with other game examples which also obfuscate cartographical details. The Metroidvania arises as a specific genre in the wake of titles like Super Metroid and Castlevania Symphony of the Night, 2D side-scrolling platformers which contain labyrinthine-like game environments that fold back on each other and encourage tracking back across previously explored levels. The genre creates an experience of exploring a maze by uncovering sections of the map one room at a time, but it also affords the player the opportunity to take multiple paths in their exploration of the space. The creator of Cave Story, Daisuke Amaya, approaches the design of games in a Metroidvania fashion. He says, "I think it's extremely important that players guide themselves because, ultimately, it is something the player should do. Personally, I prefer instead of going to a park to play, I would rather go to ruins to play, because you can think, feel, and search for yourself, your own way to play." This preference for playing in ruins is telling since the environment of the Metroidvania is mechanically and often aesthetically framed as a place separate from civilization and a return to nature. Contemporary examples of the genre faithfully recreate this feeling of exploration, but alter their design in subtle ways to stretch our understanding of what the Metroidvania can be. Axiom Verge stays close to the formula and accurately portrays the SNES-era Metroid exploration. Dead Cells emulates the design of Spelunky by integrating procedurally generated levels within the intricately designed environment. Rain World includes survival game elements within a Metroidvania structured game world and integrates a chaotic ecosystem that challenges the player. What is ubiquitous across these examples is that they are all open about the special composition of the game world. Once a player character travels into a room, the map is filled in with the details of that level. This is a convention of the Metroidvania shared by Super Metroid and Symphony of the Night. However, this is not shared in Hollow Knight, which continually obfuscates map information. At the beginning of the game, the player descends into the Hollow Nest, which is a branching cave system of many regions. There are two directions the player can go in, with this first area looping in a circle and the other regions locked off until the player has the requisite abilities. Until the player encounters the mapmaker Cornifer, they do not have access to the special knowledge of the environment. They must wander the cave system and survive amongst its inhabitants almost blindly. When they do encounter Cornifer, they are offered a partial map of the area for a small price. The problem is this map is, in comparison to other video game examples, static. It does not show the player character's current position, it does not update with new areas once the player enters them, and details of save points and shopkeepers do not appear when a map is purchased. For all intents and purposes, the developers have recreated a non-digital map in a digital format. The ability to fill the map in is afforded by purchasing a quill from a shop above the cave system. If the player wants to track their position on the map or any other details, they must purchase the compass and pins from the same map supply shop. To earn money to purchase these items, the player must justify their existence within the Hollow Nest by surviving. To gain the quill, pins and compass, the player would have to spend 740 of the currency they gain from enemies. This is beyond what can be gained from a quick run through of the first area. Access to special knowledge in Hollow Knight is hidden behind an economic barrier. In addition to this, the compass which provides the current location of the player character on the map is an ability which takes up one of a limited amount of slots. The player must choose between knowledge of their current position and passive abilities which can aid them in combat. This obfuscation of special knowledge is not limited to just the beginning of the game. Upon entering each region, the player must find Cornifer to purchase a partial map of the area. He can be found by following both trails of parchment and the sounds of his humming. For each new region then, the player is continually challenged to justify their existence within it. In Hollow Knight, special knowledge is not a given, but is quantitatively balanced with other abilities in the game system. This obfuscation of the special environment challenges the player to survive in the game world and to embrace the feeling of getting lost more than in any other Metroidvania. Interestingly, there is a similarity which can be drawn with the likes of Assassin's Creed and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. The mapmaker Cornifer is a point at which players travel towards to uncover the map information of a new region. In each Assassin's Creed, detailed map information is hidden from the player until they ascend vantage points. Upon ascending these towers, the player can view their in-game map with more detail and with points of interest highlighted. Similarly, in Breath of the Wild, the player can uncover geographical details of the map once a tower is ascended. However, points of interest are left for the player to stumble across. In the examples of Assassin's Creed and Breath of the Wild, these towers which reveal special information are beacons towards which the player travel. They can be seen from all around. In Hollow Knight, the player character always operates from a blind position in regards to special knowledge. They must listen to sounds of friend and foe, learn the new enemy movement patterns quickly, and cautiously explore for those breadcrumbs of parchment which indicate the safety of special knowledge. By integrating special knowledge within the system and balancing it against combat perks, the game questions the player's reliance on maps, suggesting cognitive or pen and paper alternatives. Hollow Knight advances the Metroidvania in an interesting direction. By erecting economic and performative barriers around special knowledge, the game challenges the player to evolve their form of explorative play. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to watch my last video on Cuphead and the genealogy of the boss battle game, then click on the link in the video. I'm taking a short break until next month so I can concentrate on my PhD viva, but on the other side of that I will be releasing a special video on Rocket League which explores forms of expression. This analysis will come with an extra bonus video which looks at some of my PhD work, so if you'd like to be notified when those videos release, then click on the subscribe button. Until then, I will be streaming RPG Maker on Twitch every Sunday night from 9 PM GMT, so join me on Sundays at Ludic Ryan.